standard deviation, minimum 25, 50, 75 maximum. So is it all these are descriptive statistic analysis or not? Yes. So for that, you are using the function called which one? Describe. So describe is a function. Now there is a sum function, maximum function, minimum function, mean function, median function, and one more is what? Describe. So you can do a lot of operations on data frame. Okay, so it is not like only these operations you can do it. You can do merging. You can do what? Joining. Joining means if you know database like Oracle or any other database, you find different types of joins like inner join, outer join, equi-join. Not only that, group by. You can also do what? Group by operations. You can also do which operations? Merging operations. All these operations you can do on which one? Data frame. So it means whatever operations you do on the database table, all the operations do on what? Data frame. So don't think that this is only operations which you can do on the data frame. Lot of operations which you can do on which one? Data frame. Okay. So don't think that this data frame is over. Okay. It is only how to work with the data frame, how to create a data frame, how to read the data from data frame, how to add the columns into the data frame, and how to load the data from different sources into what here? Data frame. Like you should know how to work with the series and what? Data frame. Okay. Now let us see. Okay, let us see one more. Let us see one more module here. And what is that module is? So let us see one more module, and that is there is one module called which one? Networking, or the same thing is called as which module here? Socket module. So developing one networking application, right? So can able to develop a networking application. You can able to develop a networking application using which module here? Socket module. You can able to develop a networking application using which module here? Socket module, right? So what is networking here is, so generally networking is a logical or physical link between okay, two or more devices. Okay, two or more devices, that you call it as which one? Networking. So networking, two or more devices. Networking is a logical or physical link between two or more devices, that you call it as what? Networking. So networking allows to develop or networking advantage of networking is sharing resources. Advantage of networking is, okay, networking is sharing resources. Okay, these resources can be hardware resources, or it can be what? Software resources. Networking allows to share the resources. That resources can be either hardware resources, or it can be what? Software resources. But what is a networking is a logical link between two or more devices. So by using networking, you can share the information. You can share the information, or you can share what your resources. So these resources can be either hardware resources, or it can be what? software resources. So Python provides a socket module for developing networking applications. Python provides a socket module for developing which application? Networking applications. But whenever you are talking about networking, in networking, how many programs will be there? Two programs will be there. One is a client and one more is what? Server. In networking, how many programs will be there? Two programs will be there. One is a client and one more is a server. But before talking about networking, we'll just see some fundamentals of networking. That is, first one is what here? IP address. So what is IP address? Okay. in networking, in networking, every device is identified with one unique number, called which one here? IP address. So every device is identified with one unique number called IP address. But generally these IP addresses are given by, generally it is given by whom? You don't give any IP address. These IP addresses are given by network network administrators. Okay, it is given by which one? Network administrators or network admins. Okay, so every device in the networking is identified with one unique number, and that unique number is called as what? IP address. For example, you have a multiple systems. Assume that this is one system here. Okay, assume that. Okay, this is one system. Every system, that is what I meant to tell. So every system is in networking is identified with one number, and that number is called as a IP address. For example, this system IP address is 127.0.0. And assume that this IP address is some 127.0.0. What? 2. Okay, assume that this IP address is 127.0.0. What is that? 3. So every system is given one unique number, and that unique number is called as which one? IP address. If you don't know the address, you cannot able to communicate, right? If you don't know the address, you cannot able to communicate. So you should know the address. Then only you can able to communicate. Now all these systems are there in what here? Network. All these systems are there in the network. Now this you can call it as which one? IP address. This is called as a IP address. But remembering this IP address is somewhat complex. Because of that, you wrap this IP address within one name, and that name is called as what name? Host name. So here, remembering IP address, remembering IP address is complex. Okay, remembering IP address is complex. To avoid this complexity, right? So this IP address is wrapped. This IP address is wrapped within one name, called which one here? Host name. This IP address is wrapped within one name, and that name is called what name here? Host name. This IP address is wrapped within one name. Okay, so you map this IP address with one name. Okay, I can give one name to this. Like suppose, assume that I can give this is NIT1 and I can give this name as what here? NIT2. So there is NIT1, NIT2, and there is what here? NIT3. Now NIT1, NIT2, NIT3, all these are what here? IP addresses. So every system identifying with the IP address is somewhat complex. Because of that, you are trying to give one unique name, and that unique name is called as which one? Host name, right? So that is IP address, and one more is a host name. And the next one is what is port number? What is a port number? So in networking we required two programs. In networking, how many programs you required? Two programs. One is called as a client program, and one more is called as which one? Server program. In networking, how many programs were required? Two programs were required. One is a client program, and one more is a server program. Each server program is identified. Server program is identified with a unique number. A unique number called, what is this number here? Port number. Okay, server program is identified with which number? Port number. So port number is an integer number. So port number is an integer number, right? It is an integer number which is used to identify which program here? Server program. So within the system, it is bind on a specific port number. So for example, now two systems are there. Now this is one system and this is one system, right? Now assume that inside this system, so there is server programs. Okay. Assume that IP address of this system is 127.0.0.some2. So inside this system, you have a multiple servers. Okay, assume that there is a server 1. Okay, assume that there is a server 1. Okay, assume that there is a server 2. So there is a server 1 and there is a server 2. And assume that there is one more program which is called as a, so server 1 is there and server 2, and there's one more server which is called as server 3. Now each server is identified with one unique number. So this unique number, for example, I've given this number as some 80. What is the port number of this? 80. Assume that port number of this is some 90. Assume that port number of this is what here? 70. So 80, 90, and one more is what? 70. Suppose assume that this is a client. So client want to connect to server 1. If client want to connect to server 1, client connect to what first? System. First client connect to system, and from this system, he'll try to connect to the server 1 by using which number? 80. In the same way, client want to connect to the server 2. First it will connect to the system and then connect to which one? Server 2. So what is this 80, 90, 70? These are port numbers. So we cannot connect directly to the server 1. Every server is bind with one port listener. So that number can be from, actually that port number is 2 bytes. 2 bytes means you can give from, what is that? 32,000, 64,536. That is from 0 to 65,535. So port number is a 2 bytes integer value. Port number is a 2 bytes integer value. Integer value whose range is from 0 to 65,535. 65,535. If there is already some other server is using a port number, then you cannot use that port number. If any other server is using that port number, you cannot use that port number. If any other server is using that port number, you cannot use that port number. Okay, right? Yes. So we try to give this port numbers, right? So we try to give this port numbers. Okay. So we try to give this port numbers here. So that you can call it as which one here? Port number. Okay. Now, in order to have a communication between these two, you require even which one here? Protocol. So what is a protocol here? So what is a protocol is? Protocol defines some set of rules and regulations, right? Protocol defines some set of rules and regulations to exchange data or information between two programs in what? Networking. Okay. So these are now there are some protocols. Like there is a protocol called TCP. There is a protocol called which one? UDP. Okay. So TCP stands for transmission control protocol, and UDP stands for user datagram protocol. So one is connection oriented and one more is connection less. For example, if you are talking about internet work on the top of which one? TCP, which is connection oriented protocol, and UDP is what your user datagram protocol, which is connection less. But protocols are used to develop which applications? Networking applications. The next one is what is a socket? Okay, what is a socket here? A socket is an endpoint. A socket is an endpoint communication. It is an endpoint communication between two programs in what here? Network. A socket is an endpoint communication between two programs within network, and socket implement okay, what it implements? Specific protocol. What socket implements here? A specific protocol, right? Socket is an endpoint communication. So this is a this is a client program and this is a server program. How client server communication is done? By using socket. So this you can call it as which socket here? Server socket. This is a server socket. Okay. Then this is which socket here? Client socket. Now client plugin to which socket here? Server socket. General socket. Okay, generally this you can call it as sockets, right? Okay, where you can consume, right? Here also using client socket. Client will plug into which one? Server. Client will plug into which one here? Server. So there will be established connection between the client and server, so that you can send what here? Data. Data, right? So that is, you can call it as socket here. Now socket module of Python provide socket or different types of sockets to develop which application? Networking application. So socket module, socket module of Python provides socket object for developing which application? Networking. For developing which application? Networking application. Okay. So socket is a default module. Socket is default module which comes with what here? Python software. You don't require to install. This module comes with what here? Python software. Is a default module which comes with what here? Python software. Is a default module which comes with the Python software, right? Is a default module, right? And this module comes with the Python software. Okay, so let us see. Now this is socket class. Using socket class, you can create which object here? Socket object. See here. Now socket is a socket module. Provide a socket class. By using this socket class, okay, using this socket class here, what is the name of the class here? Socket. So this socket can be, the socket implement two protocols. One is called as TCP protocol and one more is a UDP. But default implementation is, now you can see socket type equal to which one? Socket stream. So here TCP implementation is a connection oriented, means the client should connect it to what here? Server. First client should connect to server. Server should accept the connection of client, then only client will send the message. But UDP is a connection less. You don't require to connect. You just send the data in what? Network in the form of user datagram packets. So that packet contain the data reliable, because is it reached to the destination? We don't know, right? Okay. But here client must connect it to which one? Server. So TCP implementation is connection oriented and UDP implementation is what? Connection less. Now this is a socket class. Socket class, or what is that? Object. So this is a socket class or socket object. So socket is an implementation of either it is TCP or what is that? UDP. Okay, TCP is a connection oriented. TCP socket implementation is what? Connection oriented. And UDP is what here? Connection less. So where client will not connect to which one? Server. Now the default implementation of socket is TCP. So default implementation of socket is socket type or socket is TCP implementation. Now here you can see that this socket is a module and this socket is what here? Class. And here you have a type. What is the type here? Socket stream. And this socket stream is nothing but connection oriented. Is nothing but is an implementation of which one? TCP. Okay. It is the implementation of which one? TCP. Now, first we'll develop, okay, first we'll try to see some of the methods of socket class. Now, these are the methods of socket class here. So what are the methods you can find in socket class here? Okay, so there is a method called, now socket should accept the connection of which one? Client. So there is a method called accept. So accept is a method. So socket dot accept. So this will accept the connection of which one here? Client. So socket dot accept a connection, and the socket must be bound to an address and listening for what here? Connection. Now this accept method returns a tuple which contain the connection of client as well as what here? Address. So where connection is a new socket object usable to send and receive data on the connection, usable for sending and receiving data from. So there is a accept, and there is one more which is called as a bind is there. Socket dot bind. So bind is a method here. So this bind method, it binds the socket on a specific port and specific IP address. So that is called as a bind. And there is a, okay, there is a listen. Socket dot listen is there. So this is nothing but how many connections server accepts. So that is done by using which one here? Listen. So listen is there. Now socket dot listen. So this listen how many connections you need to define by using which one here? Backlogs. How many connections server accepts? That is defined by listen. And server receive the data sent by client. Okay, socket dot receive. Socket dot receive data from the socket. The return value is a bytes representing a data received. So how much data I should receive it? I mean, if you want to, so if you want to receive the data sent by, if you want to read the data sent by another person, you can use a method called receive. And if you want to send the data, then you are using a method called what? Send. So there is a socket dot what is it? Send. Now this is used for sending what here? Data. But in always the data is sent in the form of what here? Bytes. Always the data is sent in the form of what? Bytes. Okay. So we cannot send because network stream is byte stream, and you cannot send the data in the form of string. You have to convert the string into what here? Bytes. Because network stream is not a character stream. Network stream is what here? Byte stream. So these are the methods which belongs to what here? Socket. One is accept the connection and then bind it and listen it, receive the data as well as what? Send the data. So first we'll see how to develop a server. I want to develop a server. Now this is which program here? Server program. So what is the job of server? Server job is providing some services. What is the job of server? Providing some services, right? The job of server is providing some services. The job of server is providing some services, right? So server, what type of server? Okay, so this is a server program. Now just import which module here, socket module. So what I'm doing is I'm creating one socket. So I just created which object here, socket object. And then socket dot, after creating a socket object, you are binding this socket, you are binding this socket. Bind is there. So there is a method called which one? Bind. Bind a socket to an address. Bind a socket to what here? Address, right? I try to define the address here. So the address is nothing but I'm binding the socket to the local host. Local host is nothing but current system. And with the port number is what here? 90. It means my server port number is what here? 90, which is bind on which system? Local host. Which bind on which system? Local host. What is the port number of my server? 90. Then s dot listen. Now my server socket dot listen. Okay, socket dot listen. Now it will try to listen. How many connections it will accept? 5 connections. Suppose one client connect, second client connect, third client connect, fourth client connect, fifth client also connect. But if the sixth client is trying to connect, it will refuse because you are trying to set the maximum number of connections or what? 5 only. Then here I try to display the message. Server is what here? Running. My server is running and waiting for accepting the connection of which one? Client. How server will accept the connection of client? By using a method called what? Accept. And here I display the message saying that connection what here? Established. Okay, connection is what here? Established. Connection established, right? Yes. Now here I created socket and I bind this socket on which system? Local host with the port number 90. And server accept how many connections? 5 connections. Whenever client connect, it will accept the connection by using which method? Accept method. So you get a message connection what here? Established. Now just run this program here. Now this is server program. So I just write here server 1. So I try to run this in the command prompt. You can run in ideally also, but we have to run how many programs? 2 programs. One is server and one more is a client. Because of that, I try to execute this in what here? Command prompt. So I just open the folder where I save my program. So then I say server 1 dot, what is that? Py. What is the name of the module? Import socket dot socket. Now you can see server is what here? Running, but waiting for what? Client to connect. Server is running, but waiting for what? Client to connect, right? It is waiting for client to connect. So it is waiting for client to connect. Now server is running and waiting for the client to what here? Connect, right? So server 1 dot, what is it? Py, right? So next I have to develop which program? Next I have to develop which program? Client program. I have to develop which program? Client program I have to develop. So this is which program? Server program. This is a server program. And I try to run this server program. So this is a server program. Now server is running. Server is what here? Running here. So it is running, but waiting for client to establish what here connection. Then next you have to develop which program? Client program. And this is called as which program? Client program. Import socket. Import socket. Then I need to create one socket object. Now S equal to socket dot which one? Socket. And I'll say S dot connect. Now client is connecting to which one? Server. Where your server is running in local host. Where your server is running in local host. And what is the port number of your server? 90. So client is connecting to the local host and connecting to which server? 90. So this is nothing but which one here? Client. So client dot py. So here server is running. Open one more command prompt because we have to run how many programs here? 2 programs. So in one window server is running and in one window I'll run which one? Client. So that client program will connect to which one? Server. So I just open the folder. So then I'm writing Python client dot what is that? Py. Client dot py. Now you can see now client program is connected to which program? Server. So there is a message. What is that message? Connection established. So client is established connection to what here? Server. So there is a message connection established. Connection is established here. Okay. But after establishing connection, what client will do? He may send a message. Client can send a message to which one? Server. Client can send a message to server and server will receive that message. Client may send a message to a server and that message is received by which one? Server for doing some other processing, right? So you have to open 2 windows here. In one window, server program will be running. In other window, client program will be running, right? Okay. In one window, server program will be running. In one window, client program will be running here. Okay. Yes. So this is what will happen here as an example for this here. Now I want to send a message. Now let us develop a message server and message client. So a message server will receive a message which is sent by which one? Client. A message server. So now this is a message server. A message server receive a message from client. So import socket. I am creating a socket dot socket object I created as dot bind. So I'm binding this server on the local host with some port number is what here? 80. And s dot listen. Listen how many connections? Some 10 connections. And then I'm saying server is what here? Running. Server is running and waiting for client to what? Connect. So once the client is connect, now I'm saying s dot. Now client connection should accept it or not? Yes. Now you can see C is holding accept method. What it returns? So this accept method returns a tuple. This accept method returns a tuple which contain the connection as well as what? Address. So here this connection is nothing but socket. And this socket refers to which one? Client. This connection is a connection of which one? Client. It means server holds a connection of client. Server accept the connection of what here? Client. Server accept the connection of the client. Now in this, I'm trying to say C of 0. C of 0. C of 0 means C is nothing but tuple. And within the tuple, what is the first value? Connection. Whose connection it is? Client connection. Now client will send the data, right? And that is received by which one? Server. Receive. Now client server receive at a time how many bytes of data here? 1024 bytes. At a time it will receive how many bytes of data? 1024 is nothing but 1 KB. Server receive how many bytes of data here? 1 KB. But this data is in the form of what? Bytes. And you can convert this bytes into what? String. You can convert this bytes into a string. Now message equal to bytes dot. So there is encrypt. So in string there is a method called what? Encrypt. And in bytes there is a method called which one? Decode. So there is encode method is there in string. And in bytes there is a method called which one? Decode. And just display what here? Message. Okay. So that is what we seen in strings. In string there is encode. Encode will convert string to bytes. And bytes will provide decode, which converts bytes into what again? String. So here we are just sending a message. Now message server. So Python, I'm just writing here. What is the name of the server? Like message server.py. Message server.py. Now you can see server is what here? Running. And server is running and waiting for client to establish connection and send one message. Send one message. Now there is a message client. So there is a message client. So import which module here? Socket module. So I create a socket object here by saying s equal to socket dot socket and s dot connect. So you are connecting to which system? Which system here? Local host. And what is your server? 8. Then I want to send one message. I want to send one message by saying hello. Hello, what is that? Server. But can I send a string? No, I cannot send a string. I have to convert this string into what? Bytes. For that I am using which one? Encode. Encode will convert string to what here? Bytes. And we send the data to the server and server will receive the bytes and do what? Decode. Okay. Now s dot send. S dot send which one? Bytes. S dot send bytes. So message client. Message server and this is a message client. I'm just writing here Python message client dot py. Now you can see the client is send a message to which one? Server. And what is a message sent to the server? Hello, server. What is the message is sent here? Hello, server. Okay. So client send a message to what here? Server by using one method called which one? Send. And that message is received by which one? Server. But how many bytes it received by server? 1024 bytes. And that bytes you are converting into what? String by using a method called which one? Decode. And then you displayed what here? Message. Okay. Right. So the sending and receiving can be from both ends here. From both ends here. So this is an example here, message server. And this is a message server is there and one more is a message client is there. So this is a message client, and you have to run this both the programs in two different windows. You have to open two command prompts, and then you have to do it. I want to develop a simple calculating server. I want to develop a simple calculating server. So calculating server, right? Calculating server. So there is a calculator server. This is called as a calculate server. So if any client want to do any operation, so there is a client 1, client 2 is there, client 3 is there, and client 4 is there. Like there is a number of clients. Now suppose client 1, okay, client 1 is there, and this is a client 2. So there is a client 1, client 2, and there is a client 3, and there is a client 4. So client 1 want to perform the operation called plus. Then I'll just send one command. Suppose client 1 want to add two numbers, then it just send a request like 10 plus 20. Now I send this request to which one? Server. And server will add these two numbers and send it to which one? Client. So suppose client 2 want to do some multiplication. Now some 5 into 4. So this request multiply these two numbers and send it to what? Client. And client 3 want to find the power of a number. So 4 to the power of 2. Then this request is sent to the client calculate server, and we will find out that and send it to which one? Client. Now client 4 want to do some subtraction. Now this request is sent to the server, and server will do that operation and send result to which one? Client. So it means calc server is doing how many operations? All mathematical operations based on the request which is sent by which one? Client. Based on the request sent by which one here? Client. So what client is doing is sending one command. So that command is executed by which one? Server. You can develop even charting application by using this socket module. Charting application also can develop using this socket module, right? Charting application also you can develop. But I want to develop this simple calculate server. So first what I'm doing is I'm developing a server. Okay, I'm developing server. Now this is with server calculate. And this is with server here calculate server. So I just import which module here? Socket module. And first I'm creating a socket dot socket and socket dot bind. So I'm creating a socket, and this socket is bind on current system with the port number what? 50. And this socket is trying to listen. How many connections here? Some 10 connections. Okay, then this socket accept the connection of which one? Client. S dot. What is it here? Accept. Then this socket should receive the data or command sent by which one? Client. So C of 0 dot. So it is receiving data of how many bytes? 1024 bytes. And you are converting this bytes into what here? String. Now this string is nothing but a command. Okay. So I'm trying to use decode. Now converting bytes into what? String. Converting bytes into what here? String. And that is done by using which one here? Decode. So this is a command, right? What you are sending a command. Command is nothing but string. What is the command here? String, right? So where you are saying 10 plus 20, okay, 10 minus 20, okay, 5 into 2, like that, you are sending one command. You are sending one command, but that command you have to split. What do you have to do? You have to split that particular command. You have to split that particular command, right? Command you have to split. So command you have to split here. So, but before splitting, so command is there, no? So what is the command you are sending here? The command send is 10 plus 20. What is the command is send here? 10 plus 20. And 10 is a value, plus is the operator, and 20 is what? Value. Then you have to split at which one here? Plus. So 10 is one value and 20 is a one value, and plus is the operator or not? Yes. What is the plus here? Operate. Plus is the operator. Now how can I do this? How can I do this? Now split is there, right? Split is there. Using split, can you do the split? Using split, can you do the split or not? Yes. So this is a command. Now what I have to do is I have to split this command, right? But that splitting is done based on operator. That splitting is done based on which one? Operator. If the operator is a plus, now you'll be searching for a specific operator, right? You'll be searching. Otherwise, the split you can use what? Split characters. Split is there. No, split can be done using either one character or more than one character. You can do the search. You can you can use the search characters. You can use what here? Search characters, right? Search characters. Now, if you see this string split method, right? Split is there. So there is a split. Split function is there in string, and there is a separator here. But generally, how many separators you can use? Oh, only one separator. Now there is a split, and split is there, and you can give multiple separators. So how many separators you can use it? Now you can use either one separator or more than one separator if you are using regular expression, okay, or yes. So how can I split it here is now here I'm trying to use, okay, if what is that here plus in a plus is there inside what? Command. If the plus operator is there inside what? Command, then you have to split it what here? Plus. Okay. You have to split it what here? Plus. So where you are trying to say s equal some command or some c is already there. Some result. Okay. Some values equal to command dot what is that? Split. So you are trying to split it what here? Plus. And this value is which type here? String, which contain how many values? One values or two value? Two values. So that is operand 1 and operand 2. Then what you have to do? You have to add it. Now result equal to values integer of value of 0, value of 0 plus value of what is that? 1. Okay, else if the operator is which one? Minus in what? CMD, and CMD dot what is that? Split. And what is that here? Minus. Then result equal to integer of result equal to integer of value of 0 minus integer of value of 1. So else if So the operator is a star in a command, then value equal to command dot. What is that here? Split. I'm trying to use which one here? Star. So result equal to value of 0 into, okay, integer of value of which one here? 1. So else if it is a star in the command, so command dot, what is that split? And which one here? Slash. But I try to use only these operations. Now result equal to integer of v of 0 divided by integer of v of 1. Then I have to convert this result into a string. So str1 equal to str of which one? Result. And this string should be converted into what here? Bytes. Then str1 dot, what is that? Encode. Then connection of 0 dot send. Now server is sending this result to what? Client. Server is sending this result to which one? Client. Now server is sending the result to what? Client. Now this is which operations? All mathematical operations. All mathematical operations. Now this is which server here? Calc server. Now here I'll try to display the message. Server is what here? Running. Server is running and waiting for client to establish what here? Connection. So Python, and this is which server here? Calc server. Calc server dot py. Now server is what here? Running and waiting for client to send one command, right? Client should send one command. Now this is calc client program. So import which module here? Socket module, and create a socket by saying socket dot, what is it? Socket, and s dot connect. Connected to what here? System, and connected to which one? Server. Then I have to send one command, input enter, what is that? Command. So mathematical expression. So this command you have to convert into what? Bytes. So I use encode and s dot send. What you're sending? Bytes. Then it is also receiving the result sent by which one? Server. Now s dot receive. How many bytes it receive? Yes. Then print. Okay, result is okay. Result is b dot what is it? Decode. So the result is converted into what here? String. Now this you can call it as which one? Client program. So still your server is running, right? Now what do you do it? You'll say Python. So calc client dot py. What is the command is 10 plus 20. Now you can see the result is what? 30. Now who has done this calculation? Who send a request here? Client is send a request to which one? Server. And server is receive this command and do which operation? Addition and return result to which one? Client. And client is display the result or not? Yes. If you want server should keep on running, you put inside one infinite loop. If you want server should keep on running, right? You have to put inside one infinite loop. So you can write here while true. While true, now server is keep on running now, so that you can send either one time or more than, you send either one time or more than you send either one time or more than one time, right? So while true, now it will receive the data. So you are trying to split it. So this is a result. So str1 and encode and then send it to what here? Server. Now in this case, is it this loop is infinite loop or not? Yes. This loop is what here? Infinite loop. Now calc server dot py. Now your server is what here? Running. Server is running and Python. So I'm just writing like this. So click. Now I try to send a command. So 10 minus 5. Now what is the result? 5. You can enter it. Now 5 into 2. Okay, 5 into 2. What is the result? 10. But is it server is still running or not? Yes. Server is what you are still running, right? Because your server is running how many times? Infinite times. Your server is running what? Infinite times, right? So this is how you develop client server programs. This is how you develop client server programs, right? By using which module here? Socket module. So this is which server here? Calc server. This is an example. And this is a calc client. So this is how you work with the sockets. Okay. So again, simple, develop some charting applications and you can develop your own servers and you can develop your own clients. Client is like internet. In internet, which one is a client? Browser. In internet, which program is called as a client program? Browser is a client program. Which one is called as a client program? Browser is a client program and your server is a web server. Browser is a client program and your web server is what? Web server, right? Yeah, this is a simple module which is called as, which module it is? Socket module. Okay, this is about which module here? Socket module. And there is one more. So there is one more which is called as, what is this here? Garbage collection, right? Garbage collection is there. Okay, so your Python is so Python is dynamic. Python is dynamic language. Okay, Python is dynamic language. Python is dynamic language. In Python, memory management is done implicitly. Memory management is done implicitly. Implicit means automatic. So your memory management consists of two things. One is allocation of memory. Memory management consists of two things. One is allocation of memory and one more is deallocation of memory. Memory management consists of how many things here? Two things. One is allocation of memory, and one more is called as deallocation of memory. One is allocation of memory, and one more is a deallocation. So one is allocating memory, and one more is a deallocation. So unreserving memory. Okay. So memory management consists of two things. One is allocation, and one more is what? Deallocation. Okay. So in Python, okay, in Python, so programmer create in Python programmer create what here? Objects. Programmer create objects in what here? Main memory. But programmer never delete what here? Objects from what here? Main memory. Okay. In Python, programmer create object in main memory, but programmer never delete objects from what? Main memory. So this deleting of objects, this deleting of objects are done by, okay, done by Python virtual machine, Python virtual machine service called which one? Garbage collector. Okay, see here. In Python, programmer create object in main memory, but programmer never delete objects from main memory. This deleting of objects are done by Python virtual machine service called which one? Garbage collector. Garbage collector. So garbage collector is a service. Actually, garbage collector is a service provided by who's this? Python virtual machine. Garbage collection is a service provided by Python virtual machine. Garbage collector is a service provided by which one? PVM. PVM is like Python virtual machine. What is it? Garbage collector will delete all the objects? No. Garbage collector, garbage collector will not delete all the objects. Garbage collector will not delete all the objects. Okay. Garbage collector delete or remove only unreferenced objects. It will delete or remove only which objects? Unreferenced object. Garbage collector delete. Garbage collector delete or remove only which objects here? Unreferenced object. It doesn't delete all the objects. It doesn't delete what? All the objects. It deletes only which objects? Unreferenced objects. What is unreferenced object? What is unreferenced object? An object which doesn't bind with, an object which doesn't bind with, an object which doesn't bind with a variable is called which object here? Unreferenced object. An object which doesn't bind with variable is called unreferenced object, or unused what? Object. An object whose reference count is count is what? 0 is called even unreferenced. Even it is called as unreferenced object. An object whose reference count. Okay, an object whose reference count is what here? 0. An object whose reference count is 0 is also called which object here? Unreferenced object. And all these unreferenced objects automatically removed by which one? Garbage collector. Okay. All these unreferenced objects are removed automatically by which one? Garbage collector. But how can you know it? Is it this referenced object or unreferenced? So every object is having one property called reference count. Every object is having a property called count is incremented. This count is incremented when object is bind with what here? Variable. And decremented object is unbind with when object is unbind with the variable. So your garbage collector, look, is it this object reference count is 0 or not? If the reference count of that object is 0, then automatically it is removed by garbage collector. But how can you find out the reference count of the object? Now you can get the reference count of the object by using sysmodule. In the sysmodule provides one method called get reference count. So there is a get reference count. So return the reference count of the object. So this is called as get reference count. Get reference count is a method belongs to which one? Sysmodule. Get reference count is a method belongs to which module? Sysmodule, and that will return the reference count of the object. But when the object is eligible for garbage collection, if the reference count of that object is what? 0. If the reference count of that object is what here? 0, then that object is eligible for what? Garbage collection. Okay. Now you can find out the reference count of the object by saying a equal to 10 and b equal to what here? A. So this 10 is bind with how many variables here? 2 variables. One is a and one more is what? B. I just write import sysmodule and sys dot get the reference count. Get reference count of which object here? A. So this object is bind with A and this object is also bind with B. So what is the reference count here? 2. And not only that, you send this A to what? This function also. And when this object is also bind with what? This function. So total how many reference counts will be there? Total how many reference counts will be there? 3. Okay, 3. But because of this object pooling, you'll have number of reference counts. Okay. We'll try to create our own object. Otherwise, there's a class. What is the name of the class here? Employee. So whenever I create employee, so I want to create how many properties here? 2 properties, employee number and employee name. So I just write employee 1 equal to employee. So this is one object. And employee 2 equal to employee 1. So is it employee 1 and employee 2 both are pointing to the same object or different object? Same object. So what is the reference count of this object? 2. What is the reference count of this object? 2. If I'm saying sys dot get reference count of emp1, what is displayed here? 3. So that is, now this object is bind with emp1 and this object is bind with what? emp2. And it is also, you also send this address to what? Get reference count. So total how many variables are bind with this object? 3 variables, including get reference count. So it is bind with how many objects here? 3 objects. Now, is it this is eligible for garbage collection? Is it this object is eligible for garbage collection? No. This object is not eligible for what? Garbage collection. No, this object is not eligible for what here? Garbage collection. Only the object whose reference count is what? 0 is eligible for what? Garbage collection. Now we'll see otherwise, like how this garbage collector will remove it. Okay. So those things we'll see tomorrow, right? And tomorrow we'll try to conclude, and I'll tell you tomorrow logging module also, and then we'll conclude it, right? So I think that is the last module, logging. Yes or no? Okay. Yes. So tomorrow we'll try to conclude it by just saying which module, logging module, right? So we'll stop it here, and tomorrow we'll continue this, right? Okay. Trutil, no, yeah. Trutil, okay. Trutil also I'll tell you. Okay, he's not leaving Trutil, Razvi. No problem. Here we'll see Trutil also. What you do, I don't know, but we'll see Trutil also. Like how to draw the line, circle, rectangle, triangle. Yes. You are doing schooling. You are doing school. Razvi, are you doing school? School? You are going school? Razvi, are you doing school? Django, we'll see. Introduction to Django, yes. We'll see here. What do you do with introduction? You'll not learn completely Django in one class, right? Introduction anyway, you learn in demo class also. Right, yeah. Okay, no problem. We'll see it. We'll see. Yeah, tomorrow we'll see. Thank you.